Hello everybody. So my name's Phil. I'll be trying to go live with a solo D&D 5th edition playthrough. I have done a session 0 already just to try and get people up to speed. If you haven't seen that, you can go back later on and try and have a look at that. Hopefully it'll get you some idea what's going on. So we'll just go through a quick run through of everything that's happening. Hopefully people will join in. So what is happening? Excuse me. So I'm going to go show you my character sheet in a moment. That will hopefully give you some idea of exactly what I'm playing. And I'll try and just catch you up, crib you with a little bit of character background, and then we'll delve in and see how the session goes. So in a second, my stat sheet should be coming up here. That's great. So this is a character that I will be playing here, Granville D'Argent, who is a forest gnome Whizlock essentially. So playing a Gestalt character. You're going to have 2 levels, 1 for each type of basically character type. So he's a level 2 wizard, level 2 warlock. Okay, so that's him. A little bit of background. So he comes from a family of, well, a noble family that has fallen on bad times, on hard times, mainly due to his own father, who has used all the money in reckless, irresponsible ways, spent it on himself, and basically brought the family name crashing down. Granville himself is a wizard warcaster, and he has spent the last couple of years fighting in a border war. He's coming home now. He thinks that he is a war hero. Nobody else does. Yeah, so he thinks he's a noble war hero. Nobody else thinks that he's the only person who does. Now, last time I did this, there was a bit of a lag between the audio and the video. Hopefully that won't be too bad tonight. If there's any issues, I'll try and sort it out. I will get around to doing some character art for the character, but it will be me that's drawing it, so it won't be absolutely fantastic. And B, you'll just have to wait a little bit longer. So yes, he's coming back from this border war. He's had a letter to tell him that his grandma is ill and that he needs to make his way back. Previous to this, he has had letters on the front that have told him, there's a message in here. So he's had letters that have told him that his parents are already dead, so his grandma is the last living member of his family as far as he knows. So he's heading back to the D'Argent residence, which is his old family seat. So I will try and show you that on the map. We'll just cross back over. So if I point it out here, just here, this is his family home. Hopefully you can see that. Might need to zoom in a little bit. Oh, map's gone white, that's good. It's moved a little bit anyway, so here it is. That is a family home. Yeah, so he's heading back towards his family home, and he gets to within eyeshot of his family home, and he can see 6 figures riding away, thrashing their horses into the distance. Bit unusual. It's usually fairly quiet around here. Most people don't tend to visit the family home. If there's any business, they'll visit them at the woodcutting shop in town. So he's curious about this, so he sets off cautiously back towards his own house. And when he gets there, it's quite a dire scene, really. There is a shallow grave that has been dug, and in it is collapsed a goblinoid figure holding a shovel. So it looks like it's been forced to dig its own grave. In absolute disarray and in panic, Granville runs into the family home. It's not much better once he gets inside the house. He finds out that it's been smashed to pieces, and when he gets up to the would-be grandma's bedroom, he finds that she has been lashed to a chair and doesn't seem to be moving. There's no signs of life. There's no consciousness. He makes his way over to there, and he checks his shoulder. There's no response. There's no response at all. So I'm going to try and do a character voice now for Granville. Usually it's my go-to voice. It's an impersonation of Matt Berry. It's not very good, to be honest with you. A lot of the times it strays into Patrick Stewart. So we'll see. But anyway, Granny, Grandma! Nothing, no signs of life. So he unstraps her, takes her downstairs, carries her gently downstairs, makes his way out into the garden surrounding the house. It's a bit like Unforgiven when he has to bury the rest of the family. So he makes his way there, and as he does, you can just hear a low groan coming from the graveside that has already been dug. But when he gets over there, you can see that this goblinoid figure that was face down has turned back over. And he looks and goes, "Bobo, you're still with the family after all this time. I knew you wouldn't leave us." But this figure, Bobo, the goblin, gradually and warily crawls out. Granville pops down the body, goes to assist him and pulls him out and asks him what's happened. Granville tells him that 6 figures broke into the house after beating him up. They beat the living daylights out of him. And Granville wants to know from Bobo what has happened. And he tells him that actually he was already there digging a grave. And that the grave was for Granny. Granny had unfortunately died before Granville got back. But the bandits who broke in didn't know this. And didn't realise she was actually dead already in the chair and had lashed her to it. So he's mightily mad now, is Granville, because as far as he's concerned, these terrible bandits that have broken into the home and stolen something from him have desecrated the body of his beloved grandma, is what he thought was his only living relative. But alas, no more. So he leans over and he pulls Bobo out of the ground and assists him. And then he pushes poor Granny's body into the grave, and the two of them make an impromptu headstone and bury her over. It's at this point that Granville realises there isn't the right lot here left for him at the residence, but he equally feels that he needs to go and seek revenge against these wrongdoers that have taken so much from him. So he decides that he is going to leave here and he's going to head for Hexford, which is just here in the orange diamond, orangey yellow, and it's not even a diamond, is it? They're getting a message here saying it's an inside job, that Bobo is the inside man. We'll have to check that and see if it is. We'll carry on. Maybe we'll find out later in the story. For the moment, though, no insight check. Granville is just going to decide to believe him. But he's going to head out towards this hexagon, the golden hexagon here, Hexford. And the reason he's doing that is he's going to try and get back in contact with one of the people that he used to serve, one of his ex-commanders, when he was back on the front. So he's going to try and make it to Hexford to search out Captain Jack, a well-known fixer, an underground fixer that could possibly help him track down these evil men that have broken in. Now, when I mentioned this, I did say that I would hex crawl and I'd be using a combination of different things to try and plan journeys. One of them was down crawl, which suggests a journey clock, and the other one was a modifier that I was going to use from the One Ring. And I will go through that system now, basically. So if I am making my way across from the Darjon residence to Hexford, I counted it earlier, there are 6 hexes in between. 2 of them are forested. 1 of them is hills, and then there are 3 plains here. So each hex is 20 miles, which is the maximum that a dwarf could trek on a hard trek. Downcrawl says that there are no long rests, so it'll only be short rests available. So on perfect conditions, it will be 6 days to get there. But if you've previously been there, you can minus a day from this. So it would be 5 days with no modifiers. But 2 days through dense wood. We were 3 off the 1 ring modifier. That makes times 3 would give you 6 days in the woods. So therefore I'll roll 6 encounter rolls. 1 day in the hills as a 1.5 modifier, so we'll call it 2 days in the hills, which equals 2 encounter rolls. And then we have 3 days in the plains, but we'll minus 1 from that because we've been to this area before. So that will give us 2 days, so 2 encounters on the plains. So it'll be 10 days in total. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll on a random encounter table that comes from Free Lagen, and roll a d66 essentially, and roll for each type of environment as I said. So I'll be rolling 5 times for the woods, or forest as it's called in here, 2 times for hills, and 3 times for plains. 2 dice here, the green one will be the 10s, and the red one will be the 6s. And I will go and roll through and see how I go. So 6 rolls, 6 possible encounters in the dense woods. Let's see how we start. 22, so that table says no encounter. That's 1. 65 in the forest. That is encounter number 13. That doesn't sound good, does it? That sounds quite ominous. 13. Let's scroll down and see what we've got. Scroll down a little bit too far there, you know. Get there eventually, sorry. The Plague Brother. You find the decayed remains of an unfortunate murderer in front of you. The ravens and wild animals have already done their part, and the body is just about hacked to pieces. Well, that's a grim discovery. Let's hope it's not a portent of what's to happen to poor Granville and Bobo as they travel across. We'll move on to the next encounter. There is the option to try and retrieve an item from it, but I don't even think that Granville is that desperate, and he has other things to be doing rather than grubbing around in the forest. So we'll roll a few more times on the encounter. 36, so that is no encounter. So that's 3 days we've been trekking now through the woods. Let's roll another one here. Make the manservant, make Bobo the manservant do it. Earn his pay. Alas, no, I don't think I will do, because he isn't a companion and he has defense, which means if I get into any trouble, he can try and protect me. 64. We're rolling high here today. Let's see what that says. Right, 64 on the forest encounter table. That is encounter number 12. The Hungry Robbers. A group even, a grump. Maybe they are grumpy. Maybe that's the hangry. They're all hangry. They're so grumpy. A group of unwashed humans wearing worn clothes and all sorts of simple weapons step out on the road. They're dirty and look like they haven't eaten properly for a number of days. A large man with a black beard steps forward and spits and puts his hand on his sword. What manner of dirt are ye? What are you doing here? Don't you know who I am? All right, so there is a group of starving robbers in front of me. That's not good, is it? Well, that isn't really what I wanted to see. I'm being asked if I had a river here to cross, because rivers are fun for adventurers. What am I going to do? Well, I start to crackle some eldritch energy from my fingertips. And I'm going to try and persuade them that it isn't a good idea to take us on. We'll see whether this happens. So, let's roll a persuasion now that we have this new dice thing on here, the new dice roller. See what we get. Oh, that's criminally low. I'll show you on here. Across, hopefully. If you look down in the bottom corner there, I rolled a 2. 6. They just laugh in my face. Like, definitely going to have to try harder to try and scare some hard nuts like this away. So I think I'm going to have to drop in and build an encounter now. I'm going to roll a d6 just to see how many of these bad guys there are. There's 3 of them. And I think we'll call them bandits. Wrong set of players there. Let's just click on the bandit there. Get him up. Right. 3 bandits. Better roll initiative. They get 11. Let me roll my initiative. Yes, so I get +3 for being a wizard warcaster. So yes, that's better, I guess. So I got +5 on there. Let's hope I can beat 11. 18, so I will have the drop on these guys. Right. Let's start stomping. Let's see how we go here. What am I going to do? I don't think we're in close combat just yet, so I think I will be able to fire off a spell. See here, this is all just getting used to a new character. Apologies if I'm not quite that slick. Let's have a see here. What do I want to do? Is that chromatic or? Yeah, I'll do some acid damage to them. Well, a 4-inch diameter spear of energy at a creature you can see within range. Right, okay, let's do that. Let's see what I get on this dice. Whew, fortunately that was a 13 and not the 1, so that's 8. That's 18 there to hit. Hopefully that is enough to hit a bandit. So let's see here, they have an armor class of 12. So let's roll these 3d8. What did that give us? 16 damage. 16 damage. How many hit points does he have? 11. So the leader is toast. So he is dead. That leaves 2. 2 left. And I have a companion who can go on my go as well. So that is Bobo. Let's have a look here. I believe that's in extras. Warrior. Attack. So he gets a +2, +4 for his longsword. Oh, actually, it wouldn't be his bow because we decided we weren't in melee range just yet. The roll here and see how we go. See whether he can manage to get above 11. Oh, that was awful. That was a 1. Very, very bad. It just basically the arrow drops out of his hand and the drawstring whips him across the inside of his arm. And you just see this goblin leaping up and down, going, ooh. Looks really impressive, that. So that leaves 2 bandits left to have a go at us now. We're going to fire the crossbow. Let's see how they go. So 13 and a 1. So, I don't believe they beat either of our armor classes, mine or Bobo's, so we should be alright there. Oh, what's happened here now? There we go. My AC. Oh, it's 12. I'll tell you what I'll do as a reaction. I'm going to use feature and trait here. I'm going to use Arcane Deflection, which gives me a +2 bonus to my AC, which means that they wouldn't be able to hit me. It does just mean that I can only cast a cantrip until the end of my next turn. Right then, so they don't manage to hit me. So it leaves 2 left. Back up to the top of the round. Granville is being played by Ned Beats. Are we talking... Not sure that reference there. Anyway. He's going to move in. No, he's not. He's going to stay out of range because that will allow him to do a cantrip. Otherwise, if he moves in, he'll have to go into hand-to-hand combat. So, only cantrips now. So, right. What does he want to do? Yeah, he's going to attempt Eldritch Blast. Yeah. He's going to attempt to Eldritch Blast one of the people that is left. So, we'll see how that goes. That is a 6 + 4, so I believe that gives me a 10. So, that is under the Bandit's armor class of 11. 12 even. So, nightmare. But we do have a +3, hopefully, crossbow from my sidekick. And they get an 8. So that is 8 + 3, 11. That's under their armor class again. So now we have 2 bandits that are... I think they're actually going to move up. They're going to move up into range and attempt to strike us now. And they get a 3 and an 11, so no such luck. So we'll move back. I can actually cast a spell now, but I can't because I'm actually been engaged in combat. So I will have to try and just whack them. Although I may be able to do a shocking grasp, yes, because that's a touch spell. So what I would do is I'll do a shocking grasp on one of them. That is not going to work with a +4. This is why nobody else considers Granville a war hero apart from himself, because he's being, slapped about by a group of bandits, backwood bandits. Okay, so we'll see whether my fighter, my goblinoid friend, can do it any better than me. Hopefully so. So he has a +4 on his longsword. Hopefully he's going to... Oh, that is so painful. That is a 7 + 4, so that equals 11 against an armor class of 12. No such luck. So 2 of them are going to tend to strike us again. 9 and a 9 onto what armor? What advantage do they get? They get a +3. So, yeah, right then. That probably would be enough to get through my armor. Is it enough to get... Not enough to get through his armor. So again, I'm going to use Arcane Deflection. So that way it won't get through my armor, but I will just only be able to use a cantrip again. So now it's back to my go. And I think I'm just going to try and do what I did last time, but hopefully do it more successfully. So we'll go for a green flame blade. No, we didn't go for the green flame. We went for a shocking grasp last time. That's a +4 onto an 8, so we got 12. So that actually will hit this time. Let's roll the damage. A damage of 5 from their health of 11. So take that, you blighter. Right, and we decided that Bobo had a +4 to attack, so we'll see how he does. 18 this time, so we've got 22. That is far better. I like that. Good work, Bobo. Carry on. Of course, Granville is going to try and claim that the work is his own. And let's see what damage we're going to do to these people. So a hit is 1d8 +2, or we're going to say 7, using it two-handed. So he's attacked the other one, and they had 11 health points, so -7. They're on 4 health points. I'm going to roll a dice now to see whether these guys break, because they are actually backwood bandits, and they probably still do value their life rather than being hacked down, hewn to pieces where they stand. So what I will say is, odds, they stand and fight, and evens, they turn tail and head and run for the hills. So that was a 6. So evens. These guys think the better of it and describe that discretion is the better part of valor, and just head off into the woods. So we were 4 days into our 6-day journey in the woods, which means we have 2 more encounters left to roll in the woods. Let's hope we have a quiet time. Alas not, that is a 63. Which means there will be another encounter. It's been an eventful journey. Which means it's 11 this time. Let's find out what happens on the rest of the journey. The journey goes ever on. Let's have a look. Excuse me, pardon me, sorry. The Forgotten Prince. A large pile of heavy rocks stacked atop one another in a monument that you recognise. Someone has obviously spent a lot of effort building the cairn, and someone or something is buried beneath it. Well, there's an option. I could go over and kick it all down, see what's underneath. It does sound quite wicked, considering that it's just a onward journey encounter. The other option is, as it's been told by somebody else, suggested in the comments, is that I could get my henchman, my sidekick, to go and start kicking through the rocks. We have only just come out of an encounter. Fortunately, we didn't manage to take any damage. We managed to fight them off. I imagine that something that is buried underneath a cairn, if we disturb some arcane force, I imagine it's probably going to be far worse than a couple of backwood bandits. So I'm going to decide that discretion is the better side of valor here myself, and I'm just going to wander past this and leave temptation well alone. So one more encounter possibly in the woods. One more encounter roll. That is a 22, so that means that this is an uneventful journey. An uneventful day. So 6 days in the woods. And we are out of the woods now, and we're going to head across a hill. So we have 2 more encounters to do on this hillside. Let's see if there's anything epic that happens as we do so. 21. Fortunately, it's a quiet night. Passes undisturbed. We managed to get some sleeping fitful threats and starts. 1 more roll now in these hills. That is a 12, so anything below 36 is considered uneventful, so that is great. Which leads us onto the plains. The morning dawns and we are over the hills, we are onto the plains, and we can see Hexford, possibly a spire in Hexford, as the clouds break and the mist starts to burn off in the morning. We still have a long way to go. We still have 2 days of heavy trekking, but we'll see whether anything happens or whether we can manage to make it into the city unscathed, let's say. 24. That's okay. So we managed to trek for a day and a night. We have 1 more roll before we can make it inside the city. Let's see if anything eventful happens. It does. It's a 61 this time. I rolled quite a few 6s. If only there were 6s on demand here. Let's see how we do on this one. A 61 inside the woods, or in the forest as it says here. So number 9. Let's see what that has. Let's see what encounter happens now. The ruins of old. You see before you the broken remains of what was once a building, a civilized outpost in the wilds. Now nature has reclaimed the place, and everything that remains are but fallen remnants and memories lost in the mists of history. So I need to roll a d66 and see, it says here, and see just exactly what type of ruins they are. 21. A mill. Buried in the backyard. Oh, yes, a mill. Well, if I didn't have places to go and bad guys to catch, I may well think about searching. I say that to myself, but before I can do anything, Bobo's already not helped himself in, let himself in, and started wandering through, poking at possessions with the end of his longsword and things like that. Most of it is just been eaten by rats, and it's just grains of flour and sacks of flour. Bobo, what are you doing? Come on, we've got places to go. It's isn't the time to be dilly-dallying. He doesn't listen, he's doing his own thing. Then he makes it out into the back garden, and we can see that there is a raised mound in the backyard. What's that? Well, you've seen one of those before. There's obviously something buried underneath it. Let's move on. But before I can stop him, he's digging through and disturbing the earth. Like, Bobo, why? Why? God heavens, man. Why'd you do such a thing? Goblins, eh? Well, anyway, I just go back into the mill and I bring out a chair and say, well, if you're determined, I better hang around just to see what happens, but I still think this isn't a good idea. So he digs and eventually gets to the casket. I think what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to roll a d6 here, and I'm going to say that anything odd is a bad event, and anything good, well, anything even is a good event. So we'll see what happens with Bobo disturbing the dead. Oh, we get a 5, so that is bad. So I'm going to say that as Bobo lifts the casket off and daylight hits it, a undead skeleton rises out of the casket, and at the same time as that happens, the rest of his family burst out of the earth. So I'm going to roll a d6 now and see how many skeletons we have to fight again. or flee from, let's say. Cocked. Try again. 1. As the other family members burst through the air, the thing that reanimated them causes them just to dry out and desiccate into dust that's blown in the wind. This makes the remaining skeleton very angry, though, and he is going to attack Bobo. So we better get a skeleton up on here when it decides that it's right. Honestly, Bobo, I really don't know why you felt the need to do this. Disturbing the dead. This skeleton is going to attack Bobo, and it's going to use its short sword. And he got a 10 plus 4, which is under his 16 armor class. So he's going to swing back at it. We got a 19. Oh, yeah, as it swings at him, he just punches it in the face, like, trying to knock its skull off its neck. So, let's have a see here. So, he did, or would do. Technically, that's really an unarmed attack, so it would be 1d4 plus his strength plus 2. So, 1d4 plus 2. Or somebody will tell me if I've got that wrong. I'm going to roll the dice. It is going to roll the dice. I can't see what it's rolled. It's rolled a 3 plus 2, so it does 5 damage to this skeleton. Right, okay. I guess I best go in there and help my compatriot. Getting me into all manner of trouble again, Bobo. Let's see how we're going to do this. Yeah, I'll cast a magic missile because it will hit them. And that's done 4 damage plus 1. So that's 5 damage to them. Have that, you blackguard. So the skeleton's going to take another swing at Bobo here now. And it's going to miss again. So Bobo this time has had chance to draw his sword, and he's going to try and just hack at it and just cut it, fell it in two. So that's 12 plus 4, that's 16, that's over its armour. So, well, I don't think he'd have a chance to do a double-handed swing. So, single-handed swing, that's 6 points of damage, but that is enough to fell this here. Right. I'm going to say D6 here again. Odds, we find nothing but dust in the bottom. Evens, we find something of use. Evens, so we got a 2 here. So I'm going to go to the treasure deck here. And let's see if we get anything, a tasty object. So it's a D100 this time. 18. Table 9. Roll a D12 and see what we get out of that. We get an 11. A vial of white liquid, an antitoxin. So we'll add that to the equipment. I'm not sure how good that'll be because it didn't really seem to work for the miller, did it? Seeing as he ended up as a skeleton. Seems a funny thing to take to your grave as well. Oh, I'm going to be poisoned in the afterlife. Take the vial of antitoxin just in case. Okay. So we are going to make it into Hexford now after this detour that Bobo decided that we should do. Right, thanks for that, Bobo. So we make it into the town of Hexford. It is a fairly bustling town, quite large as far as towns go, quite a few hostelries. And it is to one of these that we are going to head now. We are going to head to the Black Cow, because that is a known drinking place that Captain Jack, my associate, will be in. I'm going to make my way there now, accompanied by Bobo. And we're going to make our way into the Black Cow, so we make our way through town. Fortunately, with this being one of the nearest towns to Granville's family seat, he has been here before, especially when he was young and he was taken there by his father when they were trading. So he knows the town well enough to make his way to the Black Cow. To be fair with you, it is one of the biggest drinking dens in town, so if you asked around, most people will be able to point you in the right direction. So we're going to assume that they managed to make it through there unharassed. Hexford itself is fairly lawful, even though there are devious characters within it, much like anywhere else, to be honest with you. There'll be a bad apple if you look hard enough, and it's possible that 2 of them have rolled into town right now. So we make our way in towards the Black Cow, and there in the back we see Captain Jack, a gentleman with a sour demeanour and an eye patch. And I think we're going to leave that here now for this session and pick up from there at another date. So thank you anybody who has watched. If you have enjoyed it, hopefully tell somebody so that they can enjoy it. I will leave this up here on Facebook. I'll put it on the Twitch, and in a few days I'm going to put it on YouTube. So if you want to watch it on there as well, that is fine. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming along. It's much appreciated. Hopefully you found some of it interesting, and it is something that you possibly want to watch again just to see what happens in these further adventures of Granville and Bobo. It's good to see that somebody there got the Steely Dan reference to the Black Cow. Maybe try and slip in a few more of those at a later date.